All right, today I'm sitting with Rachelle Bland from Cliff Consulting. Now, Rachelle is a financial advisor, and I'm really excited to talk to her today because, you know, finding a quality financial advisor is tricky. And I want Rachelle to start with, well, first of all, thank you for coming and sitting in our second space at home. And thank you for taking the time to talk about your experience with us.
Oh, pleasure.
Can you start with your experience, please? What's your background?
Okay. So I sort of fell into this industry. I was at university looking for a part-time job, and Student Job Search recommended me to go and work for a financial advisory firm as a typist. So it turned out they didn't need a typist because they decided to hire internally, but one of the financial advisors there was going away for 3 months and decided that he wanted to pay someone to answer the phone, look after his clients, and talk to one of the other financial advisors in the office if I had any problems. And I was green as anything.
Wow.
And I thought, well, if they want me to do it, then I'll do it. It was totally flexible around lectures. And he came back from overseas, and at the start of the next year, he said, well, I'd like you to work full-time. Can you go to uni part-time? And we're moving into another firm in Queen Street, and so it'll be easier for you to get to uni. And so I was a PA to that financial advisor for 2 or 3 years, worked for other financial advisors, and then left there and worked for a number of large financial institutions, some big names, worked for an investment wrap account platform for many years, and spent about 15 years training financial advisors, so working for a financial institution. But always knew in my heart that if I wanted to be a financial advisor, I couldn't do it when I was really young. Being a female and being young just seemed incongruous about talking with people who have a lot of money to invest. Although other people kept telling me that you've got to actually give advice while you're helping these other advisors build up all their businesses, rather than actually going out and building a business yourself. But while I worked for a fund manager, I knew that I would struggle to be able to give financial advice to clients because I would have this conflict of interest, because I worked for a fund manager who manufactured investment products, and I'd be expected to sell those to clients, and I would have to know that they were the right thing for my clients. So I left there after 15 years and joined Cliff Consulting. My partner runs it, and I've never looked back. So it's just been amazing, and I'm the succession part of Cliff Consulting, and John's sort of moved into part retirement now, and love it. Love going to work every day, and love talking about money, and that's why I'm here.
Amazing. So thank you for starting with that, because clearly Rachel's got so much experience from being on the grind for such a long time that, she's probably seen lots of things, and we're going to uncover that through the conversation. So what does a financial advisor do in your part of the industry? Okay,
so in our industry, there are 3 specialisations when it comes to giving financial advice. And so you can give financial advice for investments and financial planning, which is my specialty. So I've got the required qualification for that. We don't, at Cliff Consulting, we don't provide financial advice on lending or mortgages or personal risk and insurance. We don't have the qualifications for those, and we believe that specialisation is really important. Every aspect that you deal with in financial services is really complex, and you need to be able to give it the what it needs in terms of knowing, being an expert in your field and specialising. So it makes so much more sense for us to refer people. If I know someone who needs business finance, I could get them to come and talk to you. If I know someone who needs a mortgage. And interestingly, it's a different target market as well, because the clients that we're dealing with have money to invest, as opposed to people who are and so their risks are different. They've got investment capital. They're not they're not thinking so much about their personal risk and and getting the best interest rate for their mortgage and things like that.
Yes. So the Spinach TV audience are typically self-employed. They might have been in business for a couple of years, and so where would a business owner start with regard to investing?
So when you're a business owner, it's probably after your house one of your biggest assets, and it's really important that you build up the business and you use that, because it provides you with cash flow and income, which is really critical to maintaining lifestyle and being able to live day to day. But many people sort of, have an idea in their head that possibly they'll sell their business one day and they'll use that to fund their retirement. And so, of course, but that's not necessarily how things work out always. And so it's a matter of trying to protect your financial situation as a family, as a couple, and knowing that your business is just part of that, and knowing that, and having different pots or buckets of money so that you can actually be diversified. So you don't have all of your wealth tied up in a single investment, which might be your business. It's a similar way as to why when you start to invest, you don't invest in particular companies. You don't choose which companies you're going to invest in because you need to diversify. I can't sit here in Auckland and decide that I'm going to choose the 7 best companies in the world to invest in. I've got no idea. And so that's why it just really pays to get broad structured diversification, because there will be companies that fail and there will be investment opportunities that do really well. And so, of course, if you have a mix of all of those above, so if you have an investment account that might have, invest in low-cost index funds or something, then you might have 5,000 or 10,000 different companies that you're invested in. So you get the upside, and you minimise from the downside, because it doesn't promise you the highest return, but you don't get the lowest return because you've got that broad structured diversification.
Yes. So what things do you see people doing poorly when they think they're investing?
I hear a lot of people say, I've got a Sharesies account. And which is fine to have a Sharesies account, but if you're picking individual companies on your Sharesies account, then you're following a common myth, which is that you can pick winners and you can time markets. When you look on your Sharesies account, you'll see in there, and other investment apps as well, you'll see on there it might show in red, which means that those companies your investments aren't doing very well. Over what time frame is a question I always ask people, and most of the time they answer the question, I don't know. And so, of course, how your share investments might do, how be performing over a week or 2 weeks, it means absolutely nothing, because you need to be holding those shares for 5 years plus.
Yes.
It's the time frame is really critical, and what you don't want is to be looking at your investment account online every day, because what happens in the short term means nothing. Yes, your shares will go up and down in value, but what it is over the long term, then there's a much higher chance that you'll get a positive return over 5 years. But don't look at it every day. Don't look at your KiwiSaver every day. It's far too volatile.
Yeah, I guess adding the tech into, it's made it accessible to the masses, which is a good thing, getting people thinking about their money and thinking about, what else they can be doing with it. And at the same time, because that bar's been lowered, the sophistication that's required is lower too. So in a way, if you're looking at it every day and you're reacting to subtle changes that could, if you don't have a plan, it's probably more like gambling than investing.
Yeah, absolutely. And I have some clients who, I have a lovely clients who live down in Christchurch, and they have an exercise book on their kitchen bench, and they're avid gardeners, and so they measure the temperature and the humidity and everything every day. They also, I've talked them into not doing this every day, they have a page for their investments, and they go once a month, they'll actually write down the value of their investment portfolio, and these are retired folk. But I've made them swear to me and promise to me that they won't affect their mood if they look at their investments every day. And I think it's just a security thing. But you don't have a bad day just because your investments have gone back. And I think coming back to that technology, a lot of the banks have done their customers a disservice by using by saying to people, switch your KiwiSaver to us so that you can see it with your online banking. It's only good for the banks to get more share of wealth. It's not good for the investors, for the KiwiSaver members at all, because you go into your transactional account online to see how much money you've got, when you go to do the grocery shopping, not because you want to see your KiwiSaver in there, but yes, by all means have an app to see your investments online, but open it separately when you want to see it, not so that you see your KiwiSaver accidentally when you see what's on your online account.
Yes. And I think a side tangent from that, and I think with regard to mindset, when you're checking homes or whatever and looking at the value of your property, even though that's paper money, when you see your property going like this, you feel wealthy and you respond accordingly. And when you see your property doing this, even though it's not money in your hands, you contract. And it's probably the same with your KiwiSaver balances. how you feel relates to how you spend, and then that's probably a conversation for another day. Actually, I've gone a wee bit economical over there.
Well, yeah, absolutely. But I think you're right. But people can sort of resonate with their house prices might be going down, that they know, I know I'm still living in this house and I get the enjoyment and the satisfaction. I can stamp on the floor and it's bricks and mortar. I can touch my house. It gets magnified when you're with your KiwiSaver and with investments in the short term, because you think, oh, I've got no say over this. I don't have any control or say. I don't know what's going to happen, and I just feel nervous.
Yeah. I think that raised a whole bunch of questions for me around strategies, but that's probably a whole separate conversation. So when you want to get started with investing, is there an amount of money that you should have before you get started, or how do you get started?
It's really easy to get started with investing, and so what I would advocate to anyone starting for investing, to invest in managed funds, and so that way then you're investing in broad structured, diversified funds, and so that way then you're not making those decisions. And so many of the fund managers have offerings out there that you can start with as little as $20 in an investment account, or via automatic payments. So it's very, very easy to get started. It's not like the old days back in 1996 where you had a minimum investment size of $5,000 or anything. There are loads of options out there, and so the nice thing about most of those investment funds is that they are structured as a portfolio investment entity, or a pie, which means the tax all is taken care of on the pie, so it's not complex.
Okay.
And so that way then it's included, the IRD includes that for the tax return, and so you don't have to worry about that at all. It's all handled at the end of the year.
Okay.
Yeah.
So that, again, it reduces that bar to entry.
Yeah.
And it makes it
absolutely
possible for people to get started. Yeah. Because you think, if I'm going to go see an advisor, I must have the bags must be ripping at the seams before I'm ready. But you can start planning and preparing and having a strategy far sooner.
Yeah, absolutely. There's a lot of, some of my competitors and other financial advisors have, for just in terms of them running their own businesses, they have minimum client sizes that they deal with, because they are their ideal, the clients that they want to deal with. When you're an independent business owner like John and I, we don't have an ideal client size that we want to deal with. We're both really passionate about helping people with money, and so we have a particular offering called Assisted Do It Yourself, which we will help people who are just wanting to start out. We can help people with their KiwiSaver, and then as well as that, link onto their an investment account managed very similarly, where people can have liquid saving. So your KiwiSaver is locked into you either buy your first home or you are saving for retirement. And so, but you might need money before then. If you want money at 60, then you're not going to be able to get money from your KiwiSaver. So you can set up an investment account, and regularly save surplus cash flow from your business, as after you've taken out as drawings. And so it's all done in your own personal name, and that way it's just getting you started on that road, and getting you started in a structured way, where the money has a particular goal and a time frame, and then you're actually on a path.
So why would you use a financial advisor over your accountant?
So an accountant isn't allowed to give investment planning advice. They will. Their main purpose is to actually help with the running of your business. So they'll help you run a really successful business and minimise the tax that you have to pay and structure those sorts of things correctly. But then what you need to be doing is from that surplus cash flow or the drawings or the shareholder salary that comes out, and then from an investment point of view, you deal with that outside of your business. You don't want to be making investments into pie investments inside your company unless your accountant tells you that it's a good idea, because what you're trying to build up is a separate bucket of money on this side from your business, so that way if something happens to your business, then your investments over here are contained, and there's a level of protection around those.
Okay. How do you choose an advisor?
Well, there's a large number of financial advisors to choose from. Many of them can be chosen by the colour of their hair. There's a lot of elderly gentlemen out there who have been giving financial advice for a very long time. That's nothing against any of those, but you really need to choose an advisor that you feel resonates with you. So if you are going to choose a financial advisor, you could start by choosing someone who belongs to our professional association. So Financial Advice New Zealand has a Find a Financial Advisor link on the site, and you can go and you can choose a short list from your area. So some financial advisors look after people online and via Zoom and things, but other people, you might find that you want to meet with someone locally, and so that way then, it's daunting talking about money to anyone, let alone to a third party, person. It's a bit like going to your GP. I ask lots of questions, and I hope it's nicer than going to your GP. But it's really important that you really relate to that person that you choose as a financial advisor, because they're like a coach in terms of helping you stay on track. My big job is to make sure that you stay on track and avoid making mistakes that, and help keep you on course when scary markets come along, to make sure that, that you're on track for those sort of things. And then I'd really suggest that if you are on LinkedIn, follow that person on LinkedIn for a while to see what the things that they talk about and some of the comments that they make on other people's posts and things like that. It's just, you really just need to get a feel for what that person's like.
Yeah, I think that's it. And I'd probably add to that by making sure that they're someone who speaks in a way that you understand. So are they using jargon that's confusing, or are they simplifying things and empowering you by reducing the barriers of information?
Oh, there's so much jargon in our industry. Yeah. Absolutely. Yeah, couldn't agree more.
Yeah. And so what message would you leave people with?
Well, the earlier you start with investing and planning for the future, the better and easier it will be. I know people say this all the time, but, if you sort of say, oh, I'm going to wait till I pay off my mortgage and be debt free, and then I'll think about retiring and I'll have 5 years at that stage. It's going to be really hard to get to that point to figure out what you need to live a comfortable life in retirement. We could spend about up to a third of our lifetimes in retirement, and it would be really dismal if we had to survive off NZ Super alone. It's really challenging. And the government's this month in May 2023, what the government will be bringing in the winter energy payments to help people on NZ Super survive the winter months and be able to put their power, their heater on. And that's just, you don't have regrets. And so the sooner you can start, the more you can obtain the benefits from compound interest, and the more you can learn about the important things, financial literacy and all those sorts of things about helping you get on your journey.
That's really powerful. Yeah, and taking charge of it. I think we offline we were talking about how money is kind of a taboo topic, and people struggle to talk about it. And I think the sooner that you stare it in the face, you can pull out everything into the open and have like a conversation with yourself about the reality of your current situation and where you want to go and what you need to do to bridge that. And I guess the sooner that you do that, the sooner that you benefit from whatever the changes are you need to make.
Yeah, absolutely. So we're not born with skills about how to manage money. Now, there's a book produced in Australia by Scott Pape quite a few years ago, and it was actually the best-selling book in general in Australia, I think in 2018. It's called The Barefoot Investor. Now, they have, so of course a lot of the advice in there as it relates to superannuation doesn't actually deal directly to New Zealand investors. It's not relevant to us, but he talks about having a once a month money date. And so even if you're single, or if you and your spouse or your partner sitting down once a month over a glass of wine or a drink, making it a nice experience and talking about your finances, getting on the same page, that's really key. And if you are single, it's getting an accountability partner, or just actually, it's just about setting goalposts in the sand and deciding this is what I wanted, this is what my goals are, and this is how I'm going to prioritise what I do to make sure I do achieve my goals rather than just accidentally achieve them or actually not so accidentally completely fail and miss the mark and be miserable. So yeah, I particularly like the idea of having it over a glass of wine or a beverage or two.
Yes.
And I think it's really important. The more that people start talking about money, the less of a taboo subject it will be, and people will be empowered by that. That's
the whole point of this conversation, is to start the conversation, get your cogs turning, and and ultimately empower you to make the decisions for yourself. Rachel is someone that I believe is a good person to talk to. I'm going to leave Rachel's contact information for you, so that if you want to figure out what she can do to help your planning and goals, then you can go directly through to her. And Rachel, thank you for being so open with us today and making time.
Excellent. No, thank you, Jemma. It's been a pleasure. I really enjoy it. I'm super passionate about talking about money, and you probably gathered that.
It shows, yes. Thank you.
Cheers.